Right, so here I am, part at Miami International, and we are in the middle of recreating the Global Spirit Tour with Depeche Mode. So today's flight will take us then from Miami to Nashville.
Undock and resize the X camera window.
Yes, this is important, so just kind of grab that guy, and grab that, and there we go.
Plan your flight at SimBrief and pin all the charts needed for the flight in Navigraph.
Right, so at SimBrief, you would just start a new flight, enter a flight number, and the airports, in this case Miami to Nashville, and our alternate is Atlanta. And you choose the proper airframe, MD11 freighter. And important here is to set 0 passengers, or they will cram 19 people into that little tiny space behind the cockpit, which is not cool. And generate flight. Yes, I've already done this, but what you would do is you would come down here and where you export the flight plan. There's a category here, rotate MD11. Just download that and dump it into the X-Plane 11 aircraft rotate MD11 user data saved routes folder. That way you can call it up in the FMC, which I will show just shortly here. Okay, and also I've pinned all the charts in Navigraph. We have the airport overview for Miami. We're right here in Culver City. I also have the SID, as well as the star for Nashville with the approach and taxi chart for Nashville. So that's all set up nicely here. So we can proceed.
Verified chocks are set, and then release parking brake.
Wheel chocks are set, so we can release the parking brake, save us some brake pressure.
Open all relevant doors, then load and fuel the aircraft.
Right, so open, and lights on. Request cockpit stairs, and let's load this fucker. What you're concerned with here is the total payload, the block fuel, any taxi fuel you may have, and the trip fuel. All available in the SimBrief. So just can start with the block fuel. The block fuel is 56,109. 56,109. Taxi fuel is 2,000 pounds. And the total payload for this flight is 137,900. 137,900. And the trip fuel is 29,648. 29,648. That's all set, and then the CG is good, 29.5. If the CG is off, or you have to move this slider right here, it will be indicated here with a yellowy, orangey type color of the text, but it's all white, so it's good. And then you can load directly and set the FMS automatically with this button, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and formally request fuel and cargo. So, and then cargo.
Sending service now.
Can't disable the computer voice, unfortunately. Okay, but that's all for the fueling and loading, so let's proceed.
Verify that the weather radar is off.
It is.
Check that the fuel switches are off.
They are.
Spoilers fully retracted. Landing gear lever should be down.
It is.
On the fuel panel, check that the fuel dump switch and MNF drain switches are guarded.
Right on.
Verify that the emergency power selector is off.
It is.
Turn on the main battery.
Yep.
Request external power via the interface. Then
Like so.
turn on external power.
Right on.
And check that AC and DC 1, 2, and 3 lights are extinguished. Gen 1, 2, and 3 arm lights should be illuminated. The bus
Right on.
off lights should be extinguished.
They are.
Verify that the static air selector is set to norm. Check that the display units are powered and that they display appropriate indications. Check the clock and verify that the time is correct. Elapsed time to 0. Set the radio selector switch to VHF 1.
Booster
On the exterior lights panel, verify that the nav light is on. The button should be dark. Turn on no smoking sign and set seatbelt button to auto. Push the engine APU fire test button and verify bells, lights, and alarm. Turn on the beacon light. Push the APU power button. When the APU is online, proceed with the next checklist.
Right. So I noticed that my spoilers were actually like that, and the flaps also. Some leftover derangement from previous flight, no doubt. Okay, so we're waiting for the APU here. Another thing I should add, the static air switch or whatever is here, and the way you can tell it's in the correct position is that you can see the knob there. If it is not visible like that, then it's wrong. Will you see this thing is all good? Alright, I just don't even know if it's small. Whatever. Okay, we're waiting for the APU, and it's available, so let's continue.
Clear master warnings. Contact delivery and request IFR clearance.
Alright, we're flying without ATC today, so we're not going to do that. We can proceed.
Verify that the trim air off light is extinguished.
Right here.
Test the annunciator light.
Right here.
Verify that the cabin pressure system light is extinguished.
This guy right here.
On the air panel, turn on APU air. Set IRS selectors to nav. Program the FMC, then move on.
Right. Go to init, and since we have saved our route in the rotate MD11 use it as saved routes folder, we can just enter the name of the route, and that is KMIA KBNA. There we go. And we know that Atlanta is our backup or alternate, so cattle. Put that right there. And then initialize IRS. And we can enter our flight number, which is Depeche Mode, or rather DM9074. Our flight level today is 34,000 feet. Okay. And then we can just auto fill out the block and takeoff gross weight, takeoff CG, and zero fuel weight CG. And then we proceed to the flight plan at Miami, SID, and we know that we are taking off from 08 right via the Herson 3 departure and the Capasa transition. So insert. You can see that it's the Capasa because of this guy right here, right on. So now we go to Nashville, star, and we're arriving runway 31 via the Swift 2 departure and the Yagir transition, like that. We can just check our route right quick by hitting plan and step through it. Take off. Looking good. Beautiful. And we have our holding pattern there in case we have to go around. So go to the takeoff approach page. Here we need to put in our flex temperature if we're using that. I'll put 45, completely arbitrary, I don't know. The takeoff flap for the MD11 is typically 20 degrees, so enter that. And this one, slope wind, is written in this way. 0, or that number rather, would indicate the slope of the runway that you're taking off from. It's negligible here, so we'll just use 0. And you do a backslash, and you enter H, and now you get the wind for Miami, whatever that may be. It's 0 at this time, so just enter 0. This is the format for this. 0, backslash H, and then whatever the wind is. The outside temperature in Miami is a balmy 34 degrees. And now we can just confirm the V-speeds by clicking as such. Alright, so that whole thing is taken care of. Can just leave that here. Let's continue.
Push and hold the voice recorder test button for 5 seconds.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Verify bus fault lights extinguished. Adjust cargo temperature as necessary.
Let's cool it down a little bit.
Verify that the hydraulic system manual light is extinguished. Verify that the hydraulic system 1, 2, and 3 pressure lights are illuminated.
These 3.
Push the hydraulic pressure test button. The test will take 1 minute. Check that there is a hydraulic pressure alert message displayed on the EAD.
Right on.
Check that the smoke illic air selector is set to norm.
Norm.
Drive 1 through 3 should be guarded. Cab bus switch should be guarded. Arm the emergency power switch. Arm the emergency light. While holding the test button for 8 seconds with the left mouse button, pan with right mouse button so that you can see the main display, and verify that it says emergency lights test pass. Verify that the mask switch is guarded. Check that the fuel system manual light is in full auto. The button should be dark. Then move on.
Right. So, yeah. It's always referring to these system buttons here in the top right corners. It should always be dark. So, anywho, let's continue.
Now for exterior lights. Verify that the landing lights are retracted.
They are.
Left and right wing and runway turn-off lights on. Buttons are dark. No flight should be off. Verify the nav light is on. The button should be dark.
Dark.
Logo light is on. High intensity light, verify off. On the overhead, check that the flap limit and elev feel are set to auto. All lights extinguished. Cabin pressure controller, verify auto. Cabin pressure valve should be open, pointing straight up. Check that ditching switch is guarded. Check that all anti-ice and defog buttons are extinguished. Then move on.
Always push that.
On the glare shield, set the barometer to inches or hectopascals. Verify barrel set is set to QNH, and that minimums is set to RA. Set the radial altimeter.
It's a 200. It's fine.
Then set the altimeters on the PFD as well as the analog captain's and first officer side, and then move on.
So it's 30:05 in Miami right now. Let's set that. I have the main keyboard 1, 2, and 3 set up for these views. Right.
Verify heading readout on navigational display says MAG, and that it's on heading, not track.
That's right.
Verify that the MD and PFD show desired range, mode, etc.
It's good.
Check that the bank angle selector is set to auto. Adjust with Z and Shift Z if necessary.
Not necessary.
Check that the AFS override off switches are up.
They are.
Set 250 knots.
It's good.
Then set the initial altitude and move on.
Because I'm flying without ATC today, I'm just gonna fucking set it to our cruise altitude of 34,000 feet.
Check the oxygen masks. Push and verify oxygen flow. Check the landing gear. Verify 4 green. Verify that the center gear norm up light is extinguished. Bring up the configuration screen. Press down on the gear lever and verify 4 red lights on the system display config page. Release the lever and verify it returns to 4 green. Max out each throttle and verify warning horn sounds. On the throttle quadrant, set the takeoff flap selector to 15 or 20, or applicable.
Push the enter key to get this view.
Set the heading for the departure runway. Then move on.
08 right has a heading of 92.
73340, turn left 180, direct Kennedy.
Set auto brake to takeoff position. Verify that the auto brake ABS disarm light is extinguished.
It would be
At
here.
this point, close all doors and dismiss ground services, and then move on.
Can close all these hatches. This is already closed. Okay, we can dismiss the ground power unit, and we can set the parking brake and dismiss the wheel chocks. Get rid of the cockpit stairs, and we're solid.
Turn on auxiliary hydraulic pump 1.
This guy.
Push engine ignition A or B.
We'll go with B.
Verify fuel system manual light is extinguished.
It is.
Verify air system manual light is extinguished.
It is.
Contact ground and request pushback and engine start. Then, when ready, call the truck, set the parking brake, and remove the chocks.
All right.
When the engines are up and running, run the after start checklist.
Ground to cockpit. Please show me where you want to go. So connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Right on.
Starting pushback. And you may start engines.
When I start the number 3 engine, I kind of have to scooch down a little bit so I can get to this button. All right. It's spooling up, and you're gonna wait until it gets to 15% N2, and that's good. And introduce fuel.
Departure 50, 150,000.
Oh, I didn't do cost index. My bad. In it, we'll set 250 on the cost index. All right. We are ready to go on with the next one, so we'll do this. Number 1.
Maintain 2000, contact approach 134.35.
15% N2. Introduce fuel. And the last engine.
Operation complete. Set parking brake. Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
15% N2. Introduce fuel.
1812, maintain 2000, contact approach 134.35.
There we go.
Anti-ice as required.
Not necessary.
APU air off.
Right there.
Verify external power off.
It is.
No flight set to taxi.
Yep.
Set landing lights to IXT off. Verify logo light on. Verify taxi indicated on PFD. When ready, contact ground and request taxi clearance. Set takeoff flaps.
20.
Arm spoilers. Verify that the flap setting is indicated correctly on the PFD.
It is. 20 degrees.
Set TCAS to expander. Set stabilizer trim to the value shown in the FMC.
5.4.
7,000, south 1528.
5.4.
Display the takeoff approach page in the FMC, captain side, and flight plan on first officer side.
Southwest 1420 band.
On nav mode on FMA. Now, bring up the airport taxi chart in NavGraph, and move on.
Obvious shit, Southwest 1420.
Okay, so when I arm the nav, it will say that right here, nav armed. Magenta is a good thing. It means everything is set. And also noteworthy is, these are my V speeds. If they are magenta, then everything is good to go. But if one or more is white, that means that my weight has changed from the point that I left the gate to the point I actually arrived at the runway, so I would need to go in here and reset the V speeds and refresh them. But let's not worry about that right now because they are magenta. Alright, so let's proceed to the runway. Alright, I'm crossing the runway. If I was flying with pilot to ATC, I would ask for permission right now to cross the runway. But because it's just me, I can do whatever I want with reckless abandon. So, yeah. Alright.
Approaching 1, 2.
Ooh, that's loud. We'll deal with it for now. That's not the MD11 doing that, that's the XRAS plugin. Still debating whether I'm going to have that on or not. It's pretty jarring. One thing that is noteworthy about this particular airplane is that You have to fucking fly this in real time. There's no skip waypoint type of thing like in the TOLs. You're in it for the duration. So that's why I do 3-hour flights tops with this thing. I just don't have the time to sit through a transatlantic flight. Alright, let's stop here and do our before takeoff checklist.
Landing lights on. High intensity lights on. Button should be dark. Transponder set to TARA. Set weather radar to system 1. Set WX. Refresh V-speeds, then contact tower and request takeoff clearance.
V-speeds are still good. I think the main benefit of the XRAS plugin for me anyway is just to kind of, when you're on finals and it's a really big airport, it's kind of nice to get an acknowledgement that you are actually on finals for the correct runway. So that's what I have that for. Okay. And let's just line up here. So I'm just gonna hit the brakes and let's fucking do this. Take off.
Arm auto flight. Okay, start the chrono and throttle up.
We're throttling up.
Verify takeoff thrust on PFD. And we're rolling.
Alaska 637, contact center 127.67, good day.
I have some preset views assigned to the hat switch.
American 1107, turn left heading 310 for your climb, good right.
Rotate.
Heading 310 for your climb, good right, American 1107.
We're flying.
Positive rate, gear up. Maintain V2 plus 10. At my discretion, push auto flight, profile and FMS speed.
I'll just do that.
The track flaps and flaps on schedule.
There. So that's all you have to do really. Normally I would fly, hand flight more.
Traffic.
But I just want to show how it's done right now. So. Fuck. Alright. And these sounds that you hear, stabilizer motion, this is just normal, par for the course with the MD11. It is a very noisy aircraft. We can switch the flight plan now and take off approach here. And our next one is deals, where we need to be at 5,000. So we're already at 5,000. Feet still. Jesus. Feels like we would be climbing higher. Really turbulent. It's supposed to take an hour and 46 until wheels down in Nashville. I mean, it's not even all the way to Jones, for example. It will be at 5,000. This is very suspicious. I'm gonna go ahead and check the departure. Yeah, it says 5,000 here at Jones. Oh, of course, all the preceding waypoints would also have 5,000. This is another thing you need to be aware of with the MD11. It fucking I mean, I use the traffic program. I don't remember what it's called, but there's a lot of traffic around. Actually, I just turned off the labels for the AI planes. The planes are out there.
Clear of conflict.
It's a bit hyperactive, that one, I think. TCAS. Nautical miles to Jones, then I will start rocketing into the fucking stratosphere. See? That's fucking rocketing. Alright, we're about to push through 10,000. Right on. So now let's do the...
We're passing 10,000 feet. Seatbelt sign off. Landing lights off. Taxi light off. Spoiler disarm. Auto brake off. Anti-ice as required. Set altimeter to standard.
So here we are at cruise altitude already for a good while, and we're actually coming up now on Yagir, which is where our top of descent is. So we can look at the chart here that we've already come a good ways up from the Florida Panhandle and into Georgia. And I just wanted to go over a few things already starting here. Here's an important thing with the MD11. You have to be on the fucking ball with the setting the descent, the first altitude, the descent, because if you miss that window, I've noticed it just fucks everything up. So make sure that you dial down the next altitude, even some ways before you reach the top of descent. When I'm landing, I have configured some views for my hat switch here. Forward shows me the PFD so that I can check out my descent rate, make sure I don't slam down the fucking runway, and I can also get an idea of my situational awareness with the left hat switch, and the right hat switch is very important, because when I land I activate the reversers, and I need to really make sure that it says rev on this screen. If I move the thrust levers forward before it says rev, it will cancel my reverser instead, and I will speed up, which is the last fucking thing I want. And the down hat switch gives me an outside view just to see my touchdown. It momentarily switches the views, so as soon as I let go, it reverts to the forward view. After Yagir, it's well, actually I need to already set now at 33,100, so let's just do that. 33,000. Okay. You can't set increments of hundreds of feet that I am aware of anyway. I've set up, unless something has happened hardware-wise for me, I should have my old flight sim yoke on my right-hand side, and I have configured the gray flip switches so that the left one, when pushed upwards, will disengage the auto throttle, and the right one, when pushed upwards, will engage the reversers and disengage and so on. Toggle them, I guess. So I would hold my fingers on those buttons and then my thumb on the thrust lever, so that when I'm touching down, I'll completely retract the throttle. I will disengage auto throttle, and then I will activate the reverser, and I will switch to this view and wait until it says rev. And when it says rev, I can go ahead and max out the throttle, and it will apply reverse thrust rather than normal thrust. So that's important. So I'll be descending from here on, and I'll just use the just dial down the altitude here with whatever it says here in the MCDU. Okay, so we are descending into Tennessee. You'll notice here it says add drag, and that is something that I don't know if it's really the case in real life with the MD11, but this motherfucker overspeeds like nuts on descent and is guaranteed to blow right through 10,000 feet at ludicrous speed. And you have to literally extend the spoilers like such. If you don't, it's gonna... I mean, it's a hypersonic fucking missile. If you don't. So even now when I have extended the spoilers as far as this here, it's unlikely that it's gonna get to a sensible speed before I break 10,000. I just don't see it happening. So I thought maybe they had fixed this in the latest version, but they haven't. See, 11,000 almost, and I'm still going along here at 330 plus. So that is a bit annoying, actually. Conversely, when you enter the star, it's gonna be crawling basically, because it already, when we come into this area, it's gonna go real slow. Looks like we're gonna make it, actually. Okay, so let's get the spoilers back up. Spoilers are back up. The next one is, let's just set 4,000 a day. It's 10,000. So anyway, we're sufficiently close now to transition, so I'm gonna go ahead and run the transition descent checklist.
Passing 10,000 feet. Seatbelt sign on. On spoilers. Landing lights on. Taxi lights on. Auto brake set. In the FMC, go to the Takeoff approach page. Set landing flaps or leave at the default 35 degrees.
It says 35 here, but
Note final approach speed. Verify landing weight under the max allowed.
I'm sure it is.
And now we need to decide if we're using auto land or if we're going to hand fly her down.
Okay. So, one
Set
thing...
altimeters and then request descent from ATC.
Right. So, let's set the altimeters. It's 3002. This is actually, we're on the final fucking stretch here now, so... Okay, set it to 2,000 feet. You know, I'm kind of hoping that I could do a perfect landing here, but this is actually a pretty good illustration of how weird it is sometimes when you fly the MD11. At Onugi we'll be at 210 knots. Okay. Curious. That's not our airport, so whatever that is. I really hope I make this flight, because typically I redo the flight. If I end up unintentionally somewhere on the airport but I'm not supposed to be when I'm landing, then it's an automatic fail. You know, I am having this sense of urgency right now that evidently my autopilot is not having. 6 nautical miles, I have to be at 2,600. I'm gonna fucking extend the flap right now. Okay. And another. I have severe misgivings about being at 2,600 in 4 nautical fucking miles. And isn't that the fucking airport? Yes, that's my runway. So this is classic MD11 shit right here. I'm gonna go ahead and lower the thing, set flaps 50. And I'm disconnecting the autopilot. I'm having an aggressive ass fucking pitch here. Yeah, when that autopilot litany of complaints comes on, you just have to hit the red button on your stick as many times as required. So, the reason that I'm having this experience right now is because an altitude discrepancy. It threw off the descent profile, and that's why I'm diving like a fucking Stuka bomber right now. So I can tell you right now that this isn't gonna fly. I'm gonna do a manual go around. Okay, get that fucking descent rate under control. What the fuck is going on with my speed here? Okay, I had disconnected for some reason I disconnected my yeah. Okay. So now we should increase. But you see, I'm so fucking far down in it right now. I'm basically falling out of the sky right now. Fucking pick up speed, goddammit. Sometimes it's beautiful, you know? The flight goes fucking perfectly. But sometimes it just ends up with a cock situation like this. And be very suspicious if it says in the FMC that you have to go higher and lower and higher and lower. That's an indication right there that it's wrong. The fucking altitudes should be decreasing, not, you know, going back and forth and shit. So here we are somewhat descending here now. Okay, so I'm just gonna... Okay, I need to adjust myself a little bit here. Oh, this is such a cock flight. But I just refuse to do this fucking flight again. Refuse to do this flight again, so... Okay. Oh, such amateur fucking hour, this shit. Please don't say wasted it. Okay, I'm so high here. 200. Long landing. Terrain. Okay, I'm cutting the throttle.
Long landing, 7,000 feet, remaining, 6,000
Oh, I'm gaining.
remaining,
Just
5,000 remaining, 4,000 remaining, 3,000 remaining.
Enjoy downtown Nashville, I guess. Okay. It's such bullshit. This fucking thing. Such unbelievable bullshit. I'm really fucking angry at the way this fucker turned out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do profile, nav, and FMS speed. At least we're not crashing. So let's try this again. Okay, I guess here then. Okay, star, swift to gear, and insert. So direct to Onugi, and set the height to 4,000. Okay, like that. FMS speed, everything's managed. I mean, it's not pretty, but it is, you know, I'd rather that I see it in the video like this. It is hit and miss. So for example, if it says 4,000 Onugi, and then 5,000 Holer, and then 4,000 in the next waypoint, then you have to change manually the altitude on that one. Because if you have a discrepancy like that, it fucks everything up. At least we're holding at 4,000. But even so, I just find it weird that between Onugi and Holer, I'm supposed to drop 1,300 feet again. So I'm gonna go ahead and set 2,600 here. Magenta means that it's following the profile. And the profile right now says 4,000, which is correct, because it says 4,000 at Onugi. So now it should execute the turn towards Assholer, which is an apt description, because that fucking waypoint fucked me up on my approach. Good, it's starting its turn. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and drop everything here. So we'll drop the gear, and drop another flap. Okay, I can't do that. Alright. What about now? Yes, I can do that now. Flaps 35. But you see, it's not descending with the appropriate urgency. just isn't. It has 7 nautical miles. Okay, I guess that's fine. Okay, so it is starting a descent now. I'm almost tempted to auto land this bitch after this shit, but we'll just keep going here.
Traffic.
So now it appears to actually be following the fucking profile for once.
Traffic.
And it remains for me to find out what this exactly means. Initialize cruise flight level. So we're lining up here. Finally. So there's my runway right over here.
Traffic.
And I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the autopilot now. 1 push. 2 push. There we go. So now you do 2 pushes. You need still magenta, but manual control. So there. Okay, and my flaps are extended and my gear is down. So let's just arrest that fucking descent. And we're just hand flying her in here. Little adjustment there, and we are. I came in way too high last time.
Light slope.
Shut the fuck up.
Light slope.
Approaching. 3, 1.
Terrain.
Approaching minimum
Try not to do the death grip on the stick here. Okay.
200,
Okay.
200.
Alright. Oh, it's nice coming in on the treetops here. Okay. And cutting the throttle.
100,
Cutting the throttle and
50, 40, 30,
Terrain.
10.
come on. Acceptable. Alright. So now engage the reverse thrusters. Oh, it's so finicky. Okay, we're good. Fuck me, that was ugly as fuck. Ugly. Okay, I don't even want to look at that shit, but we are, of course. Okay, so I don't actually know. Let's just stop right here for a second, even though you're not supposed to do that. We are going to take a right and then double back. No, we're going to take a left and double back. Okay. Okay, just turn here. Okay, and I am off the runway. I'm off the runway. And I'll just stop right here and do my... Okay, so I finally got her down. Right, now. After... Okay, taxi.
Stop chrono.
Right.
Transponder to expander. Turn off weather radar. Center the mode selector. Set tilt to 0. Fully retract flaps. Disengage speed brake.
Was it ever?
Verify auto brake off. Landing lights off. Verify taxi light on.
It is
High intensity lights off.
off.
Start the APU. Turn the APU bleed on when the APU is started. And remember to turn off the taxi lights before pulling into the freight terminal stands. Bring up
Alright.
the airport taxi chart.
Okay, so we're gonna hang a left and then a right, and then we'll get on the cargo apron.
Contact ground and request taxi clearance.
Right. That was not a fun time. And it's not because I was recording and neglecting shit. I mean, this is the fucking type of shit that happens frequently with this airplane. sure it's not a parking spot, but I don't give a fuck right now. And that's good enough. Yep. Oh, alright. So parking.
Verified taxi lights off.
Yeah, this is a continual joke.
Set parking brake.
Yeah, so that's it.
Turn off engine 1, 2, and 3 fuel control switches. Turn off the seatbelt sign. Open relevant doors. Call for ground services. Contact ground and report on blocks. Then move on. Turn off all exterior lights except nav. Request external power via the interface.
I did.
Turn on external power. TCAS to standby. Anti-ice off. Cargo temp off. Turn off the APU. Observe the flight time and make an entry in the log.
1 hour and 59 minutes. So I keep a log. 1 hour, 59 minutes versus the projected of 146. I'm gonna write 50, motherfucking 50. MD11. 22, what is it today? 23.
IRS selectors 1, 2, and 3 off. Close all doors and dismiss ground services. Emergency light off. Nav light off. External power dismiss via the interface. Make sure it's turned off. Cockpit lights all off. When ready, turn off the battery and let's go fuck.
Of course, I noticed a few things here that would certainly need to be. Is the APU actually turned on? Off? Okay, whatever. I'm not sure how you turn off the fucking APU actually. I know that it turns off automatically when... I don't know. I guess that's that then. There. What a fucking cockflight.